What's going on, guys? This is Carlos Losbrat, and we're back again for another Esports Weekend Recap. In this episode, we're going to touch on IEM Katowice, Valorant, Overwatch League, and the latest LCS standings. We're going to kick it off with the best esport out there, and if you don't agree with me, well, you're just wrong. It's Counter-Strike. And over the weekend, it was IEM Katowice, one of the premier tournaments of the year. And Navi took it home. Last week, I made a little power ranking list video discussing on what teams I thought were going to do well, what teams I thought were going to underperform. Well, the teams that I thought were underperforming were just left out of the list. Because there's 16 teams, 10 made it to the list, 10 made it to the finals or playoffs, and then obviously one winner. So let's just look back at that, see what I got right, what I got wrong. You know, mostly right. So you see in the predicted standings we have Astralis, Mousesports, FaZe, Liquid, Navi, Vitality, G2, Fnatic, Evil Geniuses, and Mad Lions. So the way that standings work, it's not exactly in a direct order, because there's tiers due to double elimination and stuff like that. So of course, Navi came in first, G2 came in second because they were in the grand finals, Astralis and Fnatic were eliminated at semifinals, Liquid and Hunter T eliminated quarterfinals, FaZe and Mousesports were back in group stage, and NIP, Vitality, Evil Geniuses, and Mad Lions were all back in group stage, but they just didn't make it through. So, I think I did pretty well in my guesses here. A lot of people sent me messages saying I was stupid for putting Mad Lions in there, but Houston and the boys, they really showed up. I'd like to say that I was pleasantly surprised with their performance. Vitality, really, that took me by surprise. I expected them to do much better, especially ZywOo was killing it in the group stage, but they just couldn't make it. They just couldn't make it past. EG definitely disappointed me with their performance. Ninjas in Pajamas, I wasn't expecting to make it up there, but also there's 2 extra spots in this ranking, so you know, two other squads are gonna force their way into that ranked grouping. Now, FaZe and Mousesports in 7th and 8th place. That was surprising. 2 of the top 3, the number 2 and number 3, were put down into 7 and 8. I was pretty surprised by that. I expected them to do much better. Liquid being put in 5th and 6th, I'm not surprised by that, but the reason that they were put in there is because they were put into the quarterfinals with Navi. And let me just say, they are on fire. Navi didn't lose a single map in the playoffs. Not to Liquid, not to Astralis, and definitely not to G2. They put on a clinic of Counter-Strike this weekend, and they easily deserve the number one spot. I have to put them much higher on my predicted standings in the future. So Fnatic and Astralis are in 3rd and 4th place. Fnatic beat out 100T, but then was beaten out by G2. Astralis was already in the semifinals, but they were destroyed by Navi. And then Navi moved up to face G2 in the finals. G2 just really didn't stand a chance. And I think Simple actually knifed one of them on Mirage, which was just... That's just a big oof, is what we call that in the business. A big ol' oof. Yikes. Ouch. Hate to see it. But now, Navi has clawed their way to one of the top teams. They're now in the top 5 rankings. Let's check a look on the HLTV website to see how everyone's standing up against each other. Right now, the top 5 teams are Astralis, Navi, Mousesports, Fnatic, and G2. Liquid, nowhere to be seen. It hurts me. It hurts my NA soul a little bit, but you know what happens every time that Liquid goes into playoffs? They choke. You know, that's just the order of things. But, well, there's always plenty of events coming in the future. Lots of talent is entering the arena. Hopefully we'll see... Well, I mean, I guess technically C9's like South African and part American. I don't know what region they could be claimed by, but I guess since C9's an American organization, doesn't matter. Bottom line, Simple's amazing, Electronic's amazing, Boomage is amazing, Flamey's amazing, the whole Navi squad, very, very strong, and took me by surprise. Very happy to see it. Congrats, boys. Enjoy the chip. Moving on, we're going to talk about the Overwatch League. Now, the Overwatch League just had another homestand weekend event over in Houston, hosted by the Houston Outlaws. And, to the surprise of probably everyone, they didn't lose both of their games. They lost one, but, you know, come on. It's Houston. They gotta own up to their name a little bit. But let's start off from the top. So, New York copped another win against the Florida Mayhem, which isn't too crazy because they're one of the lower ranked teams. London got some wins after facing two of the worst ranked teams, which are Mayhem and Outlaws. So Mayhem just took losses all weekend. Philly is still the number one team, and Atlanta came out to show their face to the league, but then just walked away with 2 L's. Toronto as well took home 2 big fat L's. And now we saw Houston versus Toronto. And I didn't expect them to win. In the first map they lost, but I think that fired them up. It fired up the boys. Number one reason, because Logic's, a DPS on Toronto, teabagged at the end of Nepal, so that must have got them going. Like, you can't teabag us in our own hometown, in our own homestand. So they kicked it into gear, won the next 3 maps, and made the fans happy. I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. I want to see, you know, home teams win, I guess, because it's the opening weekend for that squad. So, congrats. Well, not really congrats, you won one of the 2 games. So, actually another thing I wanted to talk about in Overwatch League is I feel like there's too many players per team. And I'm not talking about just the 6-man squad, you know. I'm talking about how there are so many alternates on a team that it's really hard for me to keep track of. It seems that there's just too many players on a team, and it's hard for me to form like the ideal squad that they have. I don't know about you, but personally I only want a team to have 1 or 2 alternates, maybe 1 for each role, so, you know, I'll give them 3. I'll give them 3 alternate players, but if you have anything more than that, it just becomes too confusing to create a solid core team identity. And obviously they're not just going to drop players for my own aesthetic view of what a team should be, but what do you guys think? Do you think that they should have less players so you could have a more recognizable squad? Let me know in the comments below. Another thing I'd like to talk about is Valorant. Now, Valorant is the new tactical 5v5 shooter coming from Riot Games, formerly known as Project A. So it'll be a 5v5 tactical shooter similar to Counter-Strike, but in this game it'll have, I don't know what to call them yet. I don't know if I want to call them champions, heroes, characters, legends. Just different characters that have different skills that you could buy their abilities at the beginning of the round. And a lot of analysts, members in the people in the industry are considering that Valorant will steal views away from the Overwatch League. Mainly because currently the Overwatch League is having declining viewership, and that may be in part to the YouTube gaming streaming deal that they have. Now, when I want to capture clips or I want to look up highlights on the latest weekend, you can't do that. If you look up now, it's going to be very difficult to try and find any highlights of what happened in the Houston weekend because YouTube just doesn't have a efficient, very useful way of making clips. Twitch has got it right in this aspect where you could clip something very easy. I think it's just Control X, boom. You've got a clip, done, process it, send it out to your friends, who cares, whatever, put it in your compilation, and you're good to go. But with Overwatch League and COD League, there aren't that many highlight reels. You can't clip it. You have to download the whole video or use another extension, a third-party extension, which aren't very reliable. And then you have to piece together these things yourself, which is very difficult, and I also think it's contributing to the decline in viewership of this league. Also potentially because it's very hard for the average viewer who doesn't already play Overwatch to get into Overwatch. I myself, as an experienced Overwatch player, Diamond, no flex, it's even hard to follow from my perspective because there's just so much going on. Unless you're in the game to experience it, it's kind of just difficult to get that the full understanding of what's going on, especially with the changing perspectives. Maybe that's just me. But anyway, play Valorant coming around summer 2020. We should be seeing some more gameplay. There was a little bit of a gameplay leak dropped earlier, but we'll see what happens. Very excited for Valorant. Hoping that Overwatch League can step it up with their hype, their social media. Next weekend is going to be in DC. Washington Justice is going to host another homestand, and I'll give you the wrap up next weekend on that. In the LCS this weekend, we've seen a return to normalcy in the standings. Of course, there still is a large tie for 6th place, which is very odd to me still. But now, Team Liquid, TSM, they're 6-6, both of them. And they're slowly starting to balance things out, getting back to normal. But TSM had an embarrassing defeat against the worst ranked team in the league, CLG. So I'd like to highlight the shot calling of Counterlogic Gaming, because it is just plain atrocious what these guys are doing. I'm not sure who's making the shots, who is telling everyone what to do, who's their de facto captain, their leader, but it was late game. Top was missing a base tower, that's fine, but Elder Drake was up. Immortals was taking down Elder Drake, and they just decided not to fight it. I don't know why, I don't know what the thought process of that decision was, but when there's an Elder Drake, you have to fight that. Either you win it, or you lose the game. There's no in between, but they just let Immortals have it. And then right after that, Immortals walked up on to Baron, stole that too. And, well, stole implies that Counterlogic Gaming at least tried to take it. No, they were completely AFK when it came to that. And then they just let Immortals walk into their base, and they didn't fight them, of course, because they had the double buff. What do you expect them to do? So they waited until the Elder Drake wore off, and then they decided to fight. But clearly there was nothing they could do at that point. They were screwed. And it was all because of their lack of decision-making, or their poor decision-making, that led them to their own defeat. They could have won that game. They had been starting to come back. They were starting to make some serious waves, but then they just threw it all away. Honestly, I don't know what needs to be changed on that squad, but seriously, these guys are in last place. They are 2-10. That is not good at all. No. Someone make a decision. Someone make some trades. Someone talk to the academy or something, because like they gotta try something. When you're at the bottom of the league, you need to make any move to become different, to do something, to make a change in your position in the league. Outside of that, FlyQuest is still struggling to get to the top. They are 4 games behind, and behind them is 2 games. So the gap of wins between 1st and 3rd place is 6 wins. Now, I don't know if C9's looking to go 18-0, but apparently they're just trying to continuously get better. But if they're playing like the way that they do, they've beat every other team, and it doesn't look like anyone's stopping them. So it looks like this is the season of C9, which I'm very welcoming to it. So next weekend we're going to talk more LCS, see if Team Liquid, TSM, Immortals, somebody makes a move, someone tries to beat C9. Probably not. We're also going to discuss the LA homestand weekend for Call of Duty, the Guerrillas, and the Shambling Corps of Optic Gaming. Also, of course, Washington Justice, Overwatch League, and we'll see what else is coming up in Counter-Strike. Talk to you then. Thanks for watching.